Good morning. I was thinking about the question about Nibbana last night, and I thought I'd read to you a little bit from the Udana. About it. The Udana is one of the books in the Fifth Nikaya. This is called the first discourse about Nibbana. And thus I've heard, at one time the Gracious One was dwelling near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove at Anathapindika's monastery. Then at that time, the Gracious One was instructing, rousing, enthusing, and cheering the monks with a Dhamma talk connected with emancipation. Those monks, after making it their goal, applying their minds, considering it with all their mind, were listening to Dhamma with an attentive ear. Then the Gracious One, having understood the significance of it, on that occasion uttered this exalted utterance. There is that sphere, monks, where there is no earth, no water, no fire, no air, no sphere of infinite space, no sphere of infinite consciousness, no sphere of nothingness, no sphere of neither perception nor non-perception, no this world, no world beyond, neither moon nor sun. There, monks, I say, there is surely no coming, no going, no persisting, no passing away, no rebirth. It is quite without support, unmoving, without an object. Just this is the end of suffering. And the second discourse about Nibbana starts out the same way, with the monks listening to the Dhamma with an attentive ear. And the Gracious One said this: what is called the uninclined? Emancipation is hard to see, for it's not easy to see the truth. For the one who knows, who has penetrated craving, for the one who sees, there is nothing, no defilements. And the third discourse about Nibbana, which you may have heard because it's often quoted, starts out the same way, with the monks listening to Dhamma with an attentive ear. And the Gracious One says this: there is, monks, an unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned. If, monks, there were not that unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned, you would not know an escape here from the born, become, made, and conditioned. But because there is an unborn, unbecome, unmade, unconditioned, therefore you do know an escape from the born, become, made, and conditioned. And the fourth discourse about Nibbana. Here the Buddha says, for the dependent, there is agitation. For the independent, there is no agitation. When there is no agitation, there is calm. When there is calm, there is no inclining. When there is no inclining, there is no coming or going. When there is no coming or going, there is no passing away and rebirth. When there is no passing away and rebirth, there is no here or hereafter or in between the two. Just this is the end of suffering. There are many other ways that Nibbana is described or referred to, but it's all around the peaceful, the sublime, the ending of all suffering, the ending of all craving, the ending of all anxiety, fear. And the most fascinating part maybe is that it's available, it's present here and now. So you hear Kruba Ajahns talking about it and they equate it with the Dhamma. Apparent here and now, timeless. Inviting us to investigate, to come and see, to know it directly. The Kruba Ajahns will also often talk about, Nibbana in the present moment. And all of these things that they encourage us to do, do good for the sake of goodness and practice for the sake of practice, without any craving, clinging, sense of me or mine. And that's all pointing to Nibbana. That's all encouraging us to realize that we can stop. We can stop. And that peace and happiness is really the indicator that we're going in the right direction. Of course, we have to learn how to distinguish the happiness that is peaceful and sublime from the happiness that we have when we get what we want. And so much of the path is about distinctions, about being able to see those subtle differences. We read things, read about how, like one passage in Stillness Flowing, talking about Ajahn Chah saying that mindfulness of in and out breathing was like the crown jewel of meditation objects, and talking about its value and its importance. And then, of course, there are some people where that just doesn't work for them at all. It creates tension and pressure. So we have to know ourselves, and we have to put all the things that we hear and read in context, knowing that there's no one perfect way to become free. And this is why it's so important to have this breadth of teachings, so we can see, what really helps us. And yet there are some things that we can feel are, really universally applicable, like the inclining towards Nibbana, towards that realization and complete understanding of the way things are. Understanding conventional reality and ultimate reality. And one of the things that I really would like to encourage is even when you see, all these things that are told to monks and stories of monks, that not to think of it as just the monks. I never let the teachings that I was hearing that seemed to be aimed at monastics stop me from practicing them as a layperson. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you're doing with your mind and your actions. And, if you have to translate it a little bit because your lifestyle isn't, wapapong in the jungle and so austere and walking for alms every morning and all of that, it's not a barrier to practicing Dhamma, to be here in, the Pacific Northwest or wherever you live, and observe the mind and develop kindness, develop these things, these good things for their own sake, seeing the real burden of the sense of self and how we can put that down and find real peace and contentment in our lives and happiness, a happiness that leads us upwards, not into cycles of craving and clinging. And we each have to know this ourselves directly. So it's up to each of us to notice, to feel our way through it, and keep the Nibbana, like the North Star. You can use it as the direction, the way to the indication of which way to go. Staying on the path. I remember Ajahn Sumedho one time saying, when you're walking along in the wilderness, you have to watch the path in front of you so you don't trip, you don't fall. But every once in a while you have to look up to the stars to make sure you're going in the right direction, or the sun. Know you're going in the right direction. So it's, we make Nibbana the goal, but not to be craving the goal, but to really know that every step we take in the right direction brings more stability to our mind, to our life. It brings about more ease in our relationships. So it's good to reflect upon Nibbana and upon the sense of self, the nature of conventional reality, but not take it in as some belief you're expected to hold. Because if we just try to adopt it as a belief, I think it even inhibits us from real investigation. So to notice where the questions are in your mind, in your heart. And be open to seeing things the way that Buddha described, but finding it out yourself. Reflection upon what you're being told, what you're hearing, what you're reading. But having the interest, the discipline, mostly being forced by suffering, to keep coming back to listening and reading, to keep coming back to hearing what it's been like for other practitioners walking the path, encouraging the mind in the right direction. And finding those places to rest along the way where we really feel some stability and comfort. Whether it's with the sound of silence or our breath or that feeling of having done good for the sake of goodness. Having practiced precepts for the sake of precepts. Where there's no regret. Maybe asking ourselves, what does it mean today to take the Dhamma as the principle of my life instead of the sense of self? Or we're faced with a challenge, a decision, or a circumstance, and reflect upon how do I approach this from Dhamma and not the sense of self. Just that much could be enough to guide the whole path, I think. One of the things Ajahn Sumedho points out is that the Buddha didn't say, I think there is the unborn, the unconditioned. He said there is the unborn, the unconditioned. He had absolute certainty. And so have many who have followed him. So we can read those little suttas over and over in the Udana, chapter 8. And just see how it lands. Have you seen a glimpse enough to know that that is true? Or just being open to that experience? It's pretty easy to see that keeping precepts, moral virtue, being generous, and practicing meditation are better than not doing those things. And that's pretty easy to verify in our daily life. So that's helpful because it keeps us going in the right direction. And then meditation, opening the mind to other states of consciousness, where we can know that there's more than this conventional world, and that it's true. What a beautiful path.